Here are the tests on my 2000 Comfort Height Mansfield Alto. There is no water line in the tank and no water line on the flush tower for whatever reason, but every time I find a Mansfield toilet, the water level is always set to the very top of that flush tower, so that's just where I put it. And if you're wondering what this thing is, I just have this in the top so that water doesn't shoot out while I'm doing the video, because I don't really want it splashing my phone. Here's a demonstration real quick. It didn't look like it went very high that time, but I just don't want to take risks. If that water gets into a little hole in my phone or something, then that could mess stuff up. And again, it's really just not worth it. So anyway, let's give this a flush and see how it does on tests. I really like the flush on these toilets. It's nice and swirly, and it makes that really awesome sound at the end. I don't really know how this will perform, but I'm guessing it will do similarly to my 1995 Alto. So let's add some water to the bowl and see how it does against a washcloth. Even though it has a tiny trap weight, with the amount of suction power these toilets have, I think it should do just fine. That is, if I press the handle down all the way. Well, that was not at all what I was expecting. That's actually really surprising. If you look at how it took it though, it tried to push the washcloth into the opening immediately as the flush started, so it didn't have any water pressure or any siphon power as the washcloth was going in. So I'm just going to try that again, and I'm going to see if it can do any better on a second flush. That's really weird. Is this toilet just terrible? Or does it have that one problem and it'll work well on normal use? I don't really feel like trying it out since this toilet isn't connected to a sewer. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to fill that bowl back up with water, and I'm going to hold on to the washcloth, or I'm going to put it in towards the end of the flush as it's siphoning like toilets normally take it, and I'm going to see if that makes a difference. Once it initiates that siphon, it'll take it like nothing, but the problem is it just tries to take it too soon. So technically it failed a washcloth, but really, this is a weird case that I haven't seen before. So I'm going to add some water to the bowl, and now let's see if it can take a grocery bag. Considering what we just saw, I don't think it will pass. Also, the trapway opening is tiny, and I don't think that Altos are particularly good at taking bags. So it looks like it did pretty well, and it did. And you know why? Because the bag floats on the surface, and that way it was only going to go down when the water started going down. So it had that powerful suction right towards the end that just took the bag through like nothing. So I'm going to try it again, but this time I'll put some water on the top of the bag and see if I can make it take it a little sooner, and maybe I can tell if there's a difference or not. So I'm going to add some water to the bowl real quick and get that bag again. So I'm getting it under the water here like this, sort of like the washcloth was positioned. And now I'm going to flush it for a second time. It did struggle a little bit more that time, but it still got picked up by the water and floated around a little bit. I don't really know how I could do that with a grocery bag and make it sink, but it's not really worth my time trying, so let's move on to the next test. Honestly, I don't think it'll be able to take a washcloth and a grocery bag, but it's worth a shot. There's really no way. Even with that powerful siphon, I know this mass of stuff is going to float, but I don't think it'll take it. What it'll do is it'll just go down like that and then stop immediately at the opening. Pretty much. That's pretty much exactly what it did, except not as forceful as that. More like that. So, anyway, no amount of plunging is going to get that through. I might as well see if it can take them separately. That would be kind of interesting. Took the bag at the beginning of the flush, and it ended up doing that. Whereas before, the bag floated on the surface and it passed like nothing. So I'm going to flush it again and see if that'll go through. So one time it takes it, one time it overflows. That is some pretty unpredictable performance right there. So now, after that, let's see if it can take a dish towel. Considering it couldn't take the washcloth and the grocery bag together, there is absolutely no way it's going to take the dish towel. And since the dish towel is kind of heavy, it's going to take it right as the flush starts, and it's not even going to look like it's trying. So, tank is just about full. Let's see if it'll pass. It jerked it right there at the end and just clogged it kind of hard. So, again, I don't think that's going anywhere. I'm just going to give it another flush so we can watch the bowl fill up. And we got to hear that cool siphon noise too. Awesome. So overall, in terms of performance, I'd say this toilet is very unpredictable. I'd say it's decent when it's having a good day, when the washcloth goes in towards the end of the flush, but otherwise it's really not one of the best. It's sort of average from the time. So now for the next test, let's see how it flushes with a clogged siphon jet. Honestly, I think it'll siphon because the flush is so powerful, but it's also very short, so I kind of think it'll only siphon if I hold the handle down. Let's try it. It got pretty close. Honestly, I thought it was going to siphon there at the end, but that was a little bit disappointing. So I'm going to wait for the tank to fill back up, and then I'm going to give that another flush and hold the handle. That sort of reminded me of my hygiene a little bit. I can't wait to install that thing. That was an awesome flush though. I noticed that there was a jet right here that sort of broke the water flow. All the water is flowing this way and that one jet is pointing that way and kind of evening out the swirl so it's not so big. So I'm gonna put my finger over that little jet if I can find it, and then I'm gonna flush it again. It siphoned that time. I wonder why that jet is there. Now, let's see if it can take dirt. I'm guessing that it won't do well with rinse or with bowl clearance. The bowl clearance is not bad at all. Let's check out the rinse. Starting here, I see the usual little spikes of dirt coming down from the sides. There's quite a big one right there. Really not very good bowl rinse. Alto's never had good bowl rinse. I'd say it's about equivalent to the 2014 Alto I tested. Well, technically that was a Pro Fit, but the only difference between an Alto and the Pro Fit is the flush valve. So I'm going to give that another flush and see if it can take the rest of the dirt. Did pretty well. I could just listen to that thing siphon all day, which is good that I have a video, because then I'm not wasting a whole bunch of water flushing it a million times. So I can just replay this video if I want to hear it siphon. But overall, I'd say this toilet isn't bad. It isn't great, but I still really like it. And it's not a crime to like a toilet that isn't amazing. So there we have it. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe and turn on notifications. It helps my channel a lot and I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video.